Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums today. Once again, in the co-captain's chairs, my UK connection, Stephen Reid and Simon Bray, all the way from London area and Scotland, and my longtime, where was that possibly?
London? London? No.
Is that such a place?
No, well, there is, but I don't come from anywhere near.
Not with that accent, you don't, Simon. No,
don't. Very much from the north.
I'm sorry. Okay, us Americans don't know the difference. Come on,
Peter. You've got to remember that in the UK, a few hundred miles means you're in a different zone altogether.
I guess that's I guess that's like when people talk to us here and they're like, oh, you sound like you're from New Jersey, and I'd be like, New Jersey? Screw those Jersey people, no way. So anyway, so I guess I prefaced it correctly by saying the UK, but I wanted to differentiate a little bit. I'm sorry, Simon. So technically, not anywhere near London. Stephen is in Scotland. So all right, well, England, is that better?
Lancashire.
However you say that. Okay, all right. Because I'll say it wrong, so I'm not even going to bother. Anyway, now that we've got this geography lesson correct and the American that gets it wrong, as always, thank you for joining everybody today. We've got Simon and Stephen back in the house, and today is all about a really cool melodic metal / rock, hard rock band that have been around for about a little over a decade and a half, called Edenscurse. And it's an interesting band. The band was originally named after their founder and lead singer, who surprisingly, after a couple albums, no longer in the band, they continued on with the name, right? And now there's, and you guys can probably fill me in on a little bit of what's been going on lately, because I know there's kind of like almost like two camps now. Gee, where have I heard that before? Sweet, hello. But yeah, but a phenomenal band, regardless of whether we're talking about the original lineup or the current one, with just 5 full-length studio albums, a lot of EPs and live albums and things like that, but some really, really tremendous material. The band is currently still, I think, on EFM Records, if I'm not mistaken, or...
No, that I don't know, because they split up, completely officially split up, and said that they would never be doing anything ever again. And then in recent times, they've come back and said, actually, starting it all up again, I believe, with the 5 that finished it off as well. So that's a good thing. So the appears to be, just in the last couple of months, Paul Logue, who is the bassist in the band and is reasonably local to me, he's in the same way that's saying that Simon's from London. I'm going to say that Paul's from the Glasgow area. He's not from Glasgow, I don't think, but he's from that area, and that's important. He seems to be the voice of the band, not the singer, but the voice of the band. And he said that they are starting to look at putting another album together again, which is fantastic news.
Cool. So like we said, 5 albums. We're going to rank them from our number 5 all the way to number 1. And seeing as I screwed up completely where Simon is actually from, I'm going to have Simon kick us off today with his number 5.
Let me preface this by saying that they're all very, very good.
Yes.
And actually, the one that I think I put towards the top was initially, I'm thinking, well, that's going to be the worst one. And re-listening has completely changed my mind. So, they're all good. I'm going to go number 5, possibly controversially, who knows, with the debut album. Edenscurse from 2007, excellent record. It's another of those records that's got Dennis Ward's Stardust sprinkled all over it. It's just a very, very solid, melodic, pretty hard rocking record. Judgment Day, Eyes of the World. I actually wrote down solid as fuck.
That's a great description.
Review. And the voice inside, it's a song I've always kind of thought. Then you get to the chorus and you think, oh my God, this is so awesome. This is so melodic. This is so tuneful. And I think that's the thing. They marry what's quite muscular, kind of, very much towards the edge of metal, as I'll probably say later on, with really cool choruses. And that is a symptom. That's not the word I'm really looking for, but that is on all the older albums. That kind of combination of bam, hot, heavy rocking, and great tunes.
Yeah. Would you guys say, and again, it may be another band that some viewers aren't that familiar with, but for me, these guys sound like they remind me of them, but I think the way they approach their music is very similar to a Eclipse from Sweden, where the music is very muscular, maybe not always metal, but certainly very heavy, hard rock, and every song, amazing melodies and choruses. And I think out of like some of the more recent bands, both of them seem to have a similar kind of focus and vibe. And again, they don't really sound like each other, but I listen to both and I'm like, yeah, they got that thing going on, right? They should be much bigger than they are. Can't miss hooks. And for those folks who love big, heavy riffs and shredding solos, both bands deliver in spades.
I think that for anyone who is a little bit put off by the term melodic rock, a band like Edenscurse is where you should be headed.
Yeah.
Because as Simon says, are they metal? Yeah, probably not. But there's huge riffs, real urgency about an awful lot of what they do. The production is sharp in that same kind of, kind of more modern metal kind of vibe. However, the choruses is really hook-laden, very memorable, and I just think that they strike a balance. Eclipse, I understand where you're coming from framework-wise, maybe the way the songs are built in that sense. I struggled, because I thought about it when we were putting this together, to really have a comparison band, because I thought there will be lots of people who don't really know who Edenscurse are, because they're just not as big as they ever should have been, in my opinion. And I struggle to kind of say, do you know what, if someone's not heard them, then if they like them, they'll like Edenscurse. But I do think there's lots of metal bands, maybe more of a European sort of metal sound, and lots of heavier melodic rock bands that if you like anything within that realm, Edenscurse should just hit the bullseye for you, really.
Yeah, because I mean, there are moments in some of their songs where you could almost say, well, this is kind of like European power metal. There's little bits of progressive metal. Simon and I talked about the 10 catalog last week, and I'd argue that some of this is like 10 on steroids a little bit as far as like the heaviness factor goes. Still all those great hooks, pop hooks, memorable songs, but the rhythm guitars and the riffs just a little bit more metallic and heavier, I think, here. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about a lot of bands that know how to write really catchy songs. I mean, regardless of what you call it, whether it's hard rock or metal, it's really, really accessible music that sadly not enough people know about.
I think one of the things that's maybe not held them back, but maybe made things a little awkward for them, is that the band members are so spread around, because some of them they didn't kind of meet in a pub somewhere and decide to form a band. You've got a guitarist from mainland Europe, you've got Paul from Scotland, Pete Newdeck was a drummer at one point from England, and it all seemed to be quite logistically difficult for them, and that's also caused them to go through more band members than you would maybe hope for across 5 albums, which brings me to my number 5, which is Symphony of Sin. So this is the 4th album by the band, 2013, and it's the first with their, 3rd singer, because there was one song with Marco Sandron from Pathless Ray that people might know, and he did, as I say, one song, and that was it, Time to Breathe, which you can find on Testament, the best of, and it's really good. I actually was listening to that just before we came on to do this, because I thought, I remember really liking it. Was it as good as I remember? And it actually really is. It just didn't work out for whatever reason, so they got Nikola Majic in on vocals for this album and the one that's followed, and he's really good, I have to say. A little bit different from Michael Eden, who's maybe more, not aggressive, but forceful, whereas I think Majic is a little bit more, I don't know, you can maybe bring a bit more light and shade to things. But picking up from what Simon said, and we'll see, because he may rank this much higher than me, I think this is the one album where the keyboards maybe overtake a little bit over the guitars. It was Steve Williams that was the keyboard player at this stage, people know from Power Quest. But it's still, as Simon says, these are all really strong albums, really strong albums. Evil and Divine on this is just outstandingly good. Unbreakable, Wings to Fly. It's number 5, it could be number 1 tomorrow, but this is my number 5, Symphony of Sin.
Yeah, it's really hard to differentiate these albums. I went and re-listened to all of them, and I was like, God, you can just basically throw them up in the air, and however they land is just kind of pick them. I'm going to go with today, their second album from 2008, The Second Coming. Really strong album. Yep. Really, really strong. Could have been higher. I don't know. I think all of these albums have some, for me, really, really standout tracks. I mean, I absolutely love their live album, which is kind of like a greatest hits live. And that's got like some spectacular stuff on. Even the collection that you pulled out before is really, really good. But The Second Coming is great. Just like Judas, killer song. Moody, melodic, hard rock metal, whatever you want to call it. Man Against the World shows just how well they can write these kind of sumptuous, soaring melodies. Masquerade Ball is so heavy. Angels and Demons, another great track. I mean, just top to bottom, it's really strong. I don't know. I'm just thinking I like the other four, maybe just a tiny bit better, but ask me next week and I'd be like, nah, Second Coming higher. I don't know. But for today, that's my number 5.
We need to start choosing a band that's easier, Peter, because the three of us come on regularly and go, these are all so good. We need to choose a band with some really rubbish albums at some point.
Yeah, I know. Then we wouldn't want to do it, right? Because it's like, what fun is that, right? It'll happen, though. It'll happen.
I'm sure.
I mean, I've done it before. I think I'm actually doing one with Martin on Friday that I'm doing a Witch Find. I shouldn't give it away, but I'm doing a Witch Find ranking. Witch Find, of course, the old new wave of British heavy metal band. And they're a solid band, but I don't think I love any of their albums.
I think they're a very up and down kind of band.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's not like reviewing the catalog, ranking the catalog of like Tigers of Pantang or, Angel Witch or something like that. Whereas it's just, even Diamond Head. I find Witch Find, it's very, a lot of peaks and valleys. I don't know if any of their albums are classic to me.
Lots of good songs though.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. So, but anyway, that's a story for Friday, I guess. But Simon, back to you.
Oh, thank you. Excellent. I've got The Second Coming as number 4. It was number 1 earlier. Masquerade Ball is one of the greatest songs of all time, as far as I'm concerned. I love it. I've seen the band live at least 3 times, and when they toss this one off like first or second song, you go, really? Why? Do it last. It's the absolute dogs. You know what is that song? Angels and Demons, potentially their signature tune. It's a great tune, just like Judas. Just a really excellent record. And like I said, tomorrow, if I wasn't going to Cyprus, it might be number 1. But currently, it's number.
In other words, if you go to Cyprus tomorrow and you listen to some of these albums while you're away, you may come back and say, screw it, this album is number 1, right? Okay, get you.
Absolutely, yes, indeed.
All right, I hear you. That's how it works, right? I mean, it's how it works. All right, Stephen, what do you got?
So what you're saying tomorrow, Simon, is that your favourite song will be Fly Away. Sorry, right. Yeah, back to this.
Doors that way.
That's as good as it's getting. Can assure you.
You go.
Anyway.
I'm here all week.
Unfortunately, it's interesting you're talking about them, seeing them live. I've got a reasonably interesting live experiences with the band because I first saw them at Firefest. I forget the year. By that time, Nicola Majic was in the band, so we're quite late on. And they had, shall we say, sound issues that day. They had, I believe, brought their own sound person, and the sound had been universally good over the weekend, and it was not for them, and it was very unfortunate, and it affected their set. And I kind of, because it was the first time I'd seen them, I kind of left a little, and this was actually bought at the occasion, I think, in actual fact, because it was one of those bands I really wanted to see. And I kind of like going, I need to see them again because I need to see them under their own steam, as a headline act and really get that experience. So then the next time I saw them in Glasgow in a small place called Ivory Blacks, they had all sorts of sound issues. And the support bands had no issues. They came on and it was just, everything was against them. The keyboards cut out. I mean, obviously there's big keyboards on stage and the stage is tiny. You could barely squeeze them all in. They had big backdrops. They were going all out in a tiny little venue and they couldn't get the sound to go. I think the gig started, it stopped. Paul had his all of the sound stuff up the back, and somebody was trying to pull it out, and it all just went from there. And I think the show finished at about 1:30 or something like that in the morning, and it was just, and I thought, well, I'm destined never to see a proper show with them. And Paul, who I don't know, but we have met, and we chatted via email after we've done a couple of things. He's an absolutely fantastic guy and a real fan of the scene. He's the sort of guy that you'll see down the front at a Sabaton gig. He's just bought a ticket and is desperate to go and see these bands. He's all about the music. So he asked me to go to a different gig later on, and I was like, do you know what, I'll leave it. But then they went all in with what turned out at that stage to be then announced as a final tour. And I must admit, I don't know if Paul will like this or not if he watches this, I thought, do you know what, Degreed, Mob Rules are on the bill. I'll go because there's 3 great bands on it. And that really was the reason I went. Bloody hell, Edenscurse were phenomenal. Oh, man.
There you go. Aren't you glad you did that? Yep, there you go.
Good. They were so good. I finally got the show that I had been desperate to see, and I'd just obviously, therefore, been unfortunate to miss the twice before. And I'm delighted they're back, and hopefully we will get to see them live again. But, what a powerful live band. And it was one of those, you walked out the show just grinning ear to ear, because that was what I'd always wanted to hear. You know?
Simon, did you experience any of those problems, any of the shows you saw, or was it spot on? Oh, you
did?
Okay, wow, so okay.
I saw them, I've seen them 3 times. Let's talk you through it, because each one was interesting. First time I saw them, they were on, I know you've done the stupid bills, but they were on with Hailstorm were at the top, a bit of pirate metal.
Yeah.
And the middle band were a band called The Rotted. I lasted 1 song before I went and sat in the car. Really. And Edenscurse were on first. And I'm not sure if it was for Sea of Tranquility, but I did review them, and I might have said that. Just a simple question: why does Michael Eden say "motherfucker" every other word? Because it's like a bit out of keeping with the sort of music. Anyway, he emailed me, and he wasn't best pleased. It turns out I am a motherfucker. So yeah, that was interesting. Then I saw them at Bolton at Bromley Cross, and they had the really bad keyboard issues again. They just wouldn't work. Nothing worked well. It was a bit like the one that you were talking about. And then the last time I saw them, and the review for this one is on the website, I saw them supporting Michael Schenker Fest. And they're at Academy 1, which holds what, 2,500, something like that, quite a few. There might have been 80 people there. It was very, very, very empty and very, very distressing, because they were excellent. Really, really good. But you think, well, you're probably going to make your money from your merch and stuff, and there's no one there. Very sad, and they were really, really excellent. So yeah,
I think that Schenker couldn't draw more than that. That's crazy, but you never know. Right?
It was probably more. It was clearly more than 80, but it was nowhere near third full. Wow. Very, very, very empty indeed. So yeah,
yeah, that's unfortunate. Has to be said.
Yeah.
Anyway, so where is it? My number 4, is that where we're at after all that? Sorry. Excuse me.
We totally went bloop. All right.
Yeah, we did a little. Sorry, everybody.
That's all right.
So my number 4 is album number 3. So this is Trinity. Okay. So this is Michael Eden's last album with the band. Same as with Simon there. When I came to think about my list, I thought this is about to be higher up. And it just happens that I can't work out what to put below it more than anything else. The band at this stage is Pete Newdeck on drums, who people will know from lots of different things. He's been a singer in a few projects as well. Thorsten Kona, I presume is how you pronounce it, excuse me if it's not, is a guitarist. He's phenomenal, I have to say. We've spoken about every other aspect of the band. He's absolutely outstanding, and he's on all 5 albums, along with Paul. They're the only 2, I think, that have been on them all. And you've also got Alessandro Del Vecchio. It's interesting because Michael Eden, to my knowledge, has done really nothing after this. And I think Alessandro's done 2 or 3 albums, arguably, after this. That's a week.
This week.
But at this stage, he's on top of his game, I have to say. And he's very much a band member, I would say, as well. You've also got some great special guests on this. James Labrie sings on No Holy Man, and that's one of the highlights of the album. Andy Derris is on Black Widow. But this, Holy Man, Dare to Be Different, Jerusalem Sleeps. It's a really strong album, and it's a really good example of what they do as well. And interestingly, Paul has also been working with James Labrie on a forthcoming solo album for James as well. So clearly a bond was made at this stage. So Trinity is my number 4. Should it be higher? It's not only because I like everything else a little better.
So what was the reason for Michael leaving the bands? Do you guys know what happened there?
I don't know, but all I do know, and I was going to leave it for late. Well, I will leave it for later, but it didn't appear to be a happy parting, shall we say. There haven't been, not so much from Edenscurse, but certainly Michael Eden was quite vocal at certain points, no pun intended, and not really liking the way that it all went down. So yeah, I'll cover a little bit more of that a little bit later on.
Gotcha. My number 4, Cardinal from 2016. Another really good album. Could be higher. I mean, this ranking could change at any time. Jericho, great song. Prophets of Doom, killer song. The Crushing Messiah Complex. That's the metal side of, I think, this band, right? Sell Your Soul shows the ultra catchy side to this band. Good heavy album, but it's really, really accessible. And I think for me, that's the best way I can describe these guys. Their songs are heavy. They're really hard rocking, great production, great keyboards, guitars, the vocals, but yet every song, it's got that hook that kind of draws you in. And you could literally recommend this band to almost any type of rock listener, rock fan, right? Because there's a little something for everybody here. Really strong album. Not sure I like the album cover much, but whatever. I mean, I got nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's like I love beautiful women and all that kind of stuff, but it just seems like an odd cover for them.
Does anyone else get a little confused by there's a lot of religious overtones?
Yeah.
Holy Trinity, Cardinal, Symphony of Sin. And yet there's lots of scantily clad women on just about everything that they do. And same again, I'm not opposed to scantily clad women. However, it feels like it always felt like an odd fit for me.
Yeah.
And I know it kind of comes a little bit with the kind of hard rock territory, but maybe not now. So
yeah, not in 2000, whatever, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
A good album nonetheless. Really good album.
Very, yeah.
Back to Simon.
Okay, my number 3, and I'm going to keep this one brief because we've spoke for practically everything already. Trinity, it's an absolute riff fest.
Yeah.
Say the guitarist's name again, there, Steve. Whenever you're ready.
Thorsten Kohner, I think.
Yeah, he is shit hot. He's really, really good. On every album, it's just excellent. He can clearly shred, but he doesn't overplay. He's just excellent, and he's all over this one. Like you said, Black Widow with Andy Darius. Somebody has got some form of Rolodex, haven't they? That's right. It's 2005. James the Cheese on Holy Man, and I think this is arguably the most aggressive of the records for me. It's just really good. This was the one that I was thinking, well, this is the worst one. And then I listened to it, I thought, actually, this is really good. Really, really good. I'm just going to listen to it again one more time. It's really, really, really good. So, yeah, winner. Yeah, but not in the top 2.
I remember my first exposure to this band was that live album that came out. How many years ago was that now? 8 years ago? I don't even remember.
It must be about, yeah.
That was my first exposure to this band, and I remember the live album came with the DVD. It's like a DVD CD thing, and I remember watching again. I didn't know these guys from a hole in the wall, and I'm watching them like, this guitarist is fucking good. I mean, what a tone he gets live. I mean, I'm like Thorsten Kohner, whatever, however he says his name. I'm like, I've never heard of this guy before. He's got the look. He can shred, but he doesn't go overboard like Simon mentioned at all. But man, the riffs are so good, and he's got this big wall of sound, which I absolutely love. I mean, to me, he's like, I know you've got the great vocalist and you got the bass player who is the driving force behind the band, but they've got a secret weapon in that guitar player, man, all the way from the beginning. And he's one of those guys that I think doesn't get enough credit. Really, really good. So yeah, good pick. Great album. We'll talk about more in a couple of minutes from me.
Interestingly as well, with Thorsten Kona, if that's how we pronounce it, is in an age where there's a million albums out there with guest stars. He doesn't appear anywhere else, really, does he? Not that I'm aware of. And if he does, I'm missing out, and I should be going and getting it because he is that good. But so many names appear on so many albums. Sometimes a good thing, sometimes not, to be honest. But his name just doesn't appear to be one of those. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe absence makes the heart grow fonder. But you would imagine he'd be in high demand, do you know? Because he's
especially since these guys took a bit of a break, right? Because I mean, so what's he been doing since then, right?
Good question. It's a very good question.
Worth researching.
Is Second Coming. So this is 2008. This was the same lineup, I think, as the debut. So you had New Deck, Kona, Eden, Logue, and Ferdi Dornberg. I'm killing all these guys' names, by the way, who people might know from the actual.
That's why I'm not going to bother.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll take all the hits. People can phonetically spell them out for me underneath, and I'll completely ignore it and get them wrong next time too. So that's fine. And there's more guest stars here as well. You've got Pamela Moore, who duets on Angels and Demons. People will know her from many things, but probably best from Queensryche. Some of the work that she's done with them. There's a real urgency about this album, and as we've just been talking about, the guitar sound, but the whole guitar approach, I love it. I really do. I think it's what sets them apart from so many bands kind of in this genre. That's why they sound, I think, like Edenscurse rather than anybody else. Masquerade Ball, just like Judas. It's such a good song. I think that's one of Eden's best vocals. That Judas bit that it's all in here somewhere. How he didn't shred that throat, maybe he did. I don't know. But oh wow, yeah, absolutely fantastic. Raven's Revenge, and I'm not going to give too much away. The debut was something special, and they followed it up with something that really surprised me because I thought, you know what, they've probably outdone themselves. Can't match it. It's not far away. Really good.
And that's a pretty good album cover, I think.
Yes, I would agree with that.
In fact, that looks like, I mean, that's got like AFM Records written all over it, right?
Yeah, and a cracking logo.
Yeah, I agree.
Really good logo, you know, and that goes a long way for me.
And of course, it wouldn't be in your collection without that sticker on the front of the jewel case, right?
No, yes, which a lot of people have a problem with, which I didn't realize that so many people have a problem with the fact that I painstakingly peel all these stickers off of the wrap and then try and put them back. I even try and put them back where they were on the wrap.
Yeah, exactly in the same place. Yeah, I do that.
That's where it was. So somebody somewhere on a machine has taken the time to put that in exactly where they thought it was and ruined the cover, but I like to ruin the cover too. But yeah, it's really upset some people, but there you go.
You see the comments like, get that damn sticker off there.
Yeah. I mean, someone actually was like, why haven't you taken the stickers off? And I was like, no, I've put the stickers on.
Each his own, right? Each his own.
I mean, they all come with different colours on all of them, look.
So I bet you have all those wonderful Rock Candy reissues with those gigantic stickers still on them, right? Because those take up like almost half the cover.
Yes, I do. Actually, it quite upsets me if I get one where I'm peeling it and it tears.
Yeah.
I mean, I will go to a different border and start again.
Simon's like, oh, the travesty of it all.
Get it on. And if it tears from there, then we may have to put it all in the bin. But we do have to have some sort of service for that, to acknowledge the fact that it's gone in the bin. Because it is part of the album. So yeah, there's a few that still pain me now.
Do you get the glue out sometimes as well? I do.
I've never quite gone that far because I've always thought, what if the case cracked?
No, you just a part-timer.
I suppose if the case cracked, I could cut this bit out and stick that on top of a new case.
There you go, see?
You could also reach out to the label and say, hey, by any chance, do you have any extra stickers left from that? You could do that, you know.
Do you know who I am? I'm Stephen Reid.
And from now, I definitely will.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, what are we up to? Number 3, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I tell you, these shows are always a blast with you two guys. Symphony of Sin, 2013. This is the first album with Nicola. How does he say his last name? Mijic?
I think it's Mayak.
Mayak?
Mayak, but
Mayak. Yeah, I know he's real good. By the way, I like him quite a bit. He's got good stage presence too. Not that I've seen him live, but I've seen the videos. I love the title track. Opening title track is great. Again, they're another one of these bands. We seem to be talking about this a lot lately with some of these bands who they make that first song on each album so great it just pulls you right in. It's got everything: the melodies, the big guitars, the keyboards, the magical vocals. So great. Evil and Divine, so heavy. Got all those hooks. Love the symphonic keyboards. I find I really like their use of keyboards, especially on like the later albums, because I think they were a little understated early on, and now it's like become a part of their sound. Break the Silence, total cruncher. Unbreakable, interesting song. Got a very prog metal-y feel to that. And Wings to Fly, killer song. I like this album a lot. I like all these albums a lot, but for me, it's kind of like right in the middle of the pack, but it could rank higher. But yeah. That's my number 3.
It's my number 2.
There you go. What a perfect segue. See that?
And I don't need to say anything now because you covered everything. No, that's not true. Yeah, the title track's awesome, isn't it? It's really, really good. Yeah, I've just got written down here. Commercial question mark. Why are they not selling in large quantities? And I think we've said that the other day about 10, didn't we? Fallen from Squiggle, the big ballad, just really great shit. Rock bottom, super shiny and so riffy, just absolute riff fest, and song after song after song, just excellent songs. And to get back to a particular bugbear of ours, Don't Outstay the Welcome Again. Just good, just big songs, guitar chorus, off we go, catch you later, here comes another one.
Something to be said about that, right?
Yeah, we can write songs.
Yeah,
here's a good one. Here's another good one. And Symphony of Sin's got lots of them.
Yeah. And not to derail the conversation, but interesting. You mentioned 10 before in the show we did last week. I don't know if you noticed this, Simon, if you went and read the comments, but most of the people who watched that video and read the comments who were from the UK talked about how they don't like 10. But all of the Americans who've never heard them before were like chiming in how, wow, I went and listened to this band. This is great. Where's this band been all my life? So what is it about like UK fans who have a problem with 10 and yet all of us, everybody else seems to love them? So you're one of them, Stephen, right? You're not a big fan.
I mean, I'm going to out myself here, because I have never really got on with 10. I tried really hard because I do like to support UK rock and metal as best I can. And I've bought, I think, 4 or 5 of their albums over the years. I don't think I have any of them now. I don't know. I have a personal struggle with the manner in which the dynamics of the albums are structured. I find that quite an awful lot of the keyboards, guitars, and vocals do the same movements across the songs. And it's a personal thing. And a couple of guys that I've known for years that write for Fireworks magazine really don't get my dislike of them because they love them. They absolutely adore them. And I've never connected with them at all. And Gary Hughes's songwriting, I mean, the stuff he did for Bob Catley, love it. Absolutely love it. So it's not the songwriting necessarily, but it's the dynamics on some of the 10 albums. And I must admit that I find the latter day stuff that I've heard, I haven't heard it all, to be fair, to just be a little long-winded. And never the twain shall meet, because I have continued to try with them because so many people that have an opinion that I respect tell me.
Well, I was surprised because I know what you like, and I was like, I thought that you'd be like all over those guys. Yeah. I mean, I saw all sorts of comments about like how they felt like Gary's vocals are very one note and stuff. And meanwhile, Simon and I were talking so highly of his vocals. So I don't know. I didn't mean to derail the conversation, but it was just interesting to see that. And I'm like, but I figured like the folks from the UK would embrace that band, but it doesn't seem to be the case across the board. So it was just interesting. But all the Americans who had never heard them before were loving it. So. Hey,
just to interject for 1 second, when I saw the comments, somebody just said this list is shite. And yeah, I'm fairly confident we said this is a great band. We really like them. We love all this stuff. Here's something to listen to. But no, shite.
It's because we didn't pick Babylon as our favorites, right? And my response is like, well, our favorites don't have to match yours. Doesn't mean that our lists are shite, right? I mean, comments like that.
I'm not a 10 fan. They're not shite.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Anyway,
yes. So this is Tangentville today, but there you go. Sorry. Okay. So where is it? Me? Is it me? Am I me go?
Yes, I think so. Number two
is the most recent album, Cardinal. So this is from 2016. Yeah, we've covered. I'm not very big fan of the cover, and they're all beautiful, lovely ladies. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of overplayed a little bit for my taste, has to be said. But the sticker's nice. Do you know? I really like this album. I like it a lot. I must admit that in my head, before I started to re-listen to all of this, I had presumed that I would put the most recent two albums, fifth and fourth, just because the first three albums made such an impact on me. I don't think that there was many bands doing this at that time, you know, and edenscurse stood out for me as kind of a bastion of this crossover between hard rock and melodic rock. And they really made such an impact that I just immediately just thought, you know what, I know what the bottom two are going to be, and I know what the top three are going to be. It's just a case of putting them in order. And I put Cardinal on, and I sang every song. Every single song on this album had stuck in my head from when I first listened to it. And I gave it a remarkably glowing review because I did go back and read it. And I must admit that I read it and saw what I ranked it at and thought, oh, wow, I must have been really over the top that day. And then I listened to it and thought, no.
Neither one of you guys give a lot of 5-star reviews. So yeah.
I don't. Yeah, absolutely. And it really does still blow me away. The Great Pretender is such a good song. It's just absolutely, it's driven, it's hook laden, and it sticks in the mind. And I really like it. Rome's on Fire, Prophets of Doom. You've got special guest stars, Liv Kristen on it. I mean, there's Simon was mentioning. I mean, they've obviously got a fantastic contacts list, do you know? And I do wonder, interesting, just talking about, you know, the profile of the band and how far they've gotten and the fact that they should have more recognition. Is it because they maybe haven't, and I don't know, maybe they've played thousands of shows across Europe, but they strike me as a band that have a perfect sound for mainland Europe. This sound doesn't really do much in the UK, you know, unfortunately. So you're never going to make it big, I don't think, over here. They should be playing, they should have played or been able to play bigger venues than they did, because the music deserves it, and the stagecraft, which I worked out in the last show, absolutely deserved it. But yeah, really good. And Cardinal, I think, is a really perfect example of that meshing of the guitars and the keyboards, where the melody is there. The keyboards never take over, but they're not pushed into the background. The guitars, as we say, I mean, the solos and the riffs, fantastic, but you never think it's never going to turn into a shred album. Yeah, really good. Cardinal's excellent. And I thought at the time, what a way to go. Thankfully, there's more to come.
Yeah, so we'll see. My number two, I'm going to go with the debut, edenscurse, 2007. Judgment Day, kick-ass song. There's some shredding in that song.
Yeah.
There's some shredding in that song. Stronger Than the Flame. Could have been a Dawkins song, right, from the 80s. I mean, there's some serious, I find the first album has some Dawkinisms or maybe very early Europe going on for a little bit here. What else? The voice inside, again, reminds me of the 80s kind of melodic rock, metal, whatever you want to call it. Fly Away, heavy, Don't Bring Me Down, killer, blistering hard rock stuff. Fallen King. It's a great debut. It's a really great debut. Part of me almost wanted to not rank it as high because I think they really kind of grew from here, but it's really good. And there's some classic edenscurse songs on it. So that's my number two.
Okay, well, by simple process of elimination, I've got Cardinal at number one, and Stephen's really sorted that one out for us. What I like most about it, I think it's the closest of their records that it's kind of almost on the verge of power metal at times, and you know that's my bag.
Yes.
You know, so clearly it's going to be that and Southern Rock. You know, okay. You know that's going to be my number one, because who wouldn't, like those two genres so much? Sell Your Soul, Great Pretender, Messiah Complex, yeah, and I like Find My Way, which is a bit more mid-paced, but shit hot guitar, which I think is a theme, isn't it? And yeah, it's that accessibility and that leaning towards power metal that makes it my number one. And yeah, it would have been a great place to go out on, but fortunately, hopefully there's going to be more. Yeah. And the fact, sadly, the fact that they didn't feel they could carry on this one meant that it probably didn't sell by the bucket load. And to me, it's just really commercial stuff. This is the stuff that I want to listen to. I've never heard them on the radio or anything, or just why not?
It's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
It's like a winning formula. I really like your power metal comparison there, because I think there are plenty of power metal bands who are, let's face it, a lot more popular and sell a lot more records than Edenscurse, that would love this sort of thing. Maybe it's more hooky than some of those bands, but I think there's a lot of the elements that are very similar, other than, like the double bass drumming and all that sort of thing, and singing about dragons and wizards and, battles and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of elements to this music that fans of those type of bands would really like if they would just give them a chance. I mean, they're on the right record label, right? Or were, I should say.
Yeah. That's what I was just about to say, actually, is it's fascinating because, I mean, AFM are a great label.
Yeah.
And they are capable of taking acts to that kind of next level. So why it never happened for Edenscurse, I really can't fathom it at all, because 5 albums, there's not a single one that you could rank as anything other than excellent. So it's not the music, it's not the label, just bad luck.
Yeah.
Plenty of bands get bad luck, and it's interesting because and Cardinal's maybe the best example of it, but I understand completely that comparison with power metal. And my number one is the debut, Edenscurse. And I absolutely get the Dokken reference. And I'm a massive Dokken fan, big George Lynch fan. It doesn't sound like George Lynch playing, but you can tell it's kind of informed. I wouldn't even say influence, I would say it's informed by that kind of fiery solo style, but the riff is more important. And I really like that about Conan's playing. Conan is a different guy altogether. That's just bad accent, that is, the Scots guy. But yeah, the debut for me, this just absolutely knocked me sideways. And I know that when we do these shows, we often say you should be able to remove the time from the album. And I just can't, because I played this just over and over and over. And although I had a very bad joke earlier on about Fly Away, that's maybe my favourite song of theirs, because it is heavy, it's straight to the point, but it's got such a melodic chorus, and I absolutely butcher it on a regular basis because I can't sing for toffee, but man, oh man, I'm going to give it a go, because I really like Michael Eden's vocals across the 3 albums he's on, but I think he's outstandingly good on this, and not very similar to anybody else. I don't hear too much of any other guys in there. He is quite throaty. There's not a growl in there. There's not any real harshness, but there's such an urgency about what he does. And interestingly, after he'd left the band, and I don't know if he's done anything else, this was released. So this is Retribution. The title tells you an awful lot in itself, and this is demos and kind of reworkings of songs from the early albums. And this is just Michael Eden with the band name and the logo. Go figure, And I remember at the time, and I'm paraphrasing, so if I'm getting this wrong, apologies. I mean, it's even called The Final Judgment. It's got a subtitle. You know what I mean? It's telling you all you need to know. Oddly, for a guy that's a singer, it also comes with, it came with a sticker, okay? Not on the front. So I didn't put it on the front. I kept that on the inside because that's where it belonged. But it also came with a nice pic from the singer.
Nice. Yep.
And it's an interesting exercise. And I remember at the time the kind of tagline was that this was how the albums were meant to sound. And I thought, oh wow! I mean, if the first 2 albums don't sound like they're meant to sound, it doesn't really add you anything that you think I hadn't already experienced. Probably slightly better than this, but interesting, as you say. I don't know what caused the split. It doesn't feel like that they left holding hands, put it that way. But anyway, the debut, 2007, for me, is absolutely outstandingly good. And I can say that about most of this catalogue, but I really love the debut.
Yes, indeed. Well, can you guys guess what my number one is? Trinity from 2011. Third album, last with Michael on vocals. I don't remember, it might have been Simon who mentioned that this is an absolute crushing riff fest or something similar to that. Absolutely. It happens to have some of my favorite songs from their catalog. I mean, Black Widow is so great. Call the Black Widow. I mean, you got Andy Darris there too. It's so awesome. It's so awesome. Saints of Tomorrow, excellent song. Jerusalem Sleeps. Can't Fool the Devil reminds me of Whitesnake circa 1987 a little bit. Just an immense album. Love the production, love the guitar sounds, love the vocals, hooks all over the place. For me, I like all these albums almost equally. That one to me, probably because of a couple of songs, I think just rises above just a little bit. I mean, you know, we say that all the time about how sometimes a couple of songs can make you think about an album a little bit higher than others, even though they may have other albums that are stronger start to finish. But because Trinity has those few albums that like really do it for me, that's why that's my number one. So I'm actually awaiting something new from them. So I think that'll be pretty cool to hear. All these years.
I really like the fact that the three of us have all ended up with a different number one, because that I think highlights the strength of the catalogue. You know, we've had a laugh and a joke in some of the other shows that we've done about, you know, which was really better. And you'll notice there's none of that here. We all disagree, in inverted commas, on what number one is, but nobody's going, no, but it really should be, because I think they're excellent picks that you two guys have taken as well. And I completely
you picked the first album, you picked the last album, and I picked one right in the middle.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Can't get much better than that, right?
Yeah, that is really good. Really good.
Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. So for those folks watching who have never experienced Eden's Curse, we haven't really given you a clear direction of which one to go listen to first, because we all picked different ones. But you know what? Here's the deal. Pick any of these five. That's a great starting point, right? It's called Testament, the Best of Eden's Curse. Yeah, that's a fantastic one. Or go check out the live album, you know, whatever. Either way is a good starting point, or any of these albums. Start from the first, go to the last, start, go back to the first. Doesn't really matter, because they're all of really, really good quality. And I think too, what's really key, we didn't really touch on this, is even with the change in lead vocalist, there wasn't any drop off or significant change in sound, other than the singers do sound a little different. But it's not like, you know, the Ozzy era Black Sabbath and then the Ronnie James Dio era, where you have completely different sound. This, I think the focus of the band kind of stayed the same, just with a different voice out front, right?
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. It's the same band. It's interesting as well with the power metal comparison. And I'm a big fan of power metal as well, but a lot of bands in that genre are happy to stand still. Eden's Curse don't stand still. I think whoever it was that said it, everyone was absolutely right. There's evolution, but they all sound like Eden's Curse.
Yeah. And
that's really clever, because as you say, go from Ozzy to Dio and Sabbath, and you could argue they don't even sound like the same band. So, you know? Yeah. Whereas with Eden's Curse, they changed singer at a key time and still sound like Eden's Curse, although the singers really are really quite different.
Yeah.
So, you know? So yeah, no compromise and no need to.
Yep, absolutely. So so if you guys are a Eden's Curse fan, please rank the albums as you like them in the comments below. If you have never listened to these guys, go check them out, report back in the comments, let us know what you think, because I think this is a band that if you have not heard them, please do investigate them, because we, as you heard for the last hour, we highly recommend this catalog, and there's no duds in this catalog whatsoever. High quality music with amazing guitar playing, riffs and solos, just the right amount of keyboards, amazing vocals no matter which guy it was, and hooks to die for. Very accessible albums, but pretty hard rocking albums too. So and you should be able to still get most of these, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty much still available. So AFM Records is, if not all the catalog, a good chunk of the catalog. I forget about the early ones, but so check them out. So we're going to bid Simon adieu as he gets ready to go on his vacation, and we'll see him when we get back, because these two fellas are actually going to be taking part in album homework assignment in a couple of weeks. I don't know whether they've given each other their assignments yet. I know they're doing that privately. They don't need to tell me, because I tend to not want to know what the assignments are. So when we actually record the show, I'm kind of, I'm hearing things for the first time like you guys are, but they will each be giving each other albums they've never heard before, and then coming on the air discussing what they liked or didn't like about their assignment. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And, stay tuned for Stephen will be guesting on, or appearing on, no longer guesting, on In the Prague Seat as often as he can, at least once a month, maybe twice a month. We'll see. And then we've got to do another ranking show between the three of us so we can talk about that and figure that out coming up over the next couple of weeks. So everybody visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube.
All the damn time.
There you go. And then some more in addition to that. For Stephen Reid and Simon Bray, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click on that notification bell and all the other things that you can click on below. Ko-Fi page, our merch page, seatranquility.org, which has been on the internet. Can you believe it? 20 years this year. Holy crap. So for Simon and Stephen, I am Pete. We'll see you guys real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.